Good afternoon, all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. And I'm your host, Sal Greco. I hope everyone had a great weekend this past weekend. A lot going on. If you can, please, if you're on YouTube right now, please hit that like, share, subscribe button, hit that notification button as well. If you're watching us on Rumble, hit that like button, hit that Rumble button. And if you're watching us live right now, streaming on X, please reshare this with all your friends, your family, and your low information friends, because they really need to learn a lot about what's really going on behind the scenes. I mean, really, and understand politics and the world and culture. But the other thing that just happened, this is breaking news here, okay? And I'm gonna put this up because this was just given to me. So apparently, Eric Adams, the savior of New York City. There's a plan coming out right now. We on this network have continuously told you about how all these terminated municipal workers, city workers, either in the NYPD, FDNY, sanitation, wherever they landed, when they refused to go along with this forced mandate, they were terminated. Many, almost all, without any due process. Marlon Bettel, who's a part of the Finest Unfiltered, he was handed a note that he was terminated, didn't even receive charges, okay? All of that, okay, was a couple of years ago. A judge in New York State then received the lawsuit that then ordered the city to reinstate and compensate every single person that was a victim to this mandate that was illegal. Eric Adams has continuously, and I mean continuously, fought this off. He has fought this lawsuit off every time. He keeps getting appeal after appeal after appeal. So now election time comes, and it's Eric Adams who should step down. He has no shot. He's the guy with no shot. Not Curtis, not Cuomo, not Mamdani. It's Eric Adams. And I can show you with it right here in this chart. These were the total votes from this Democratic primary. Zohran Mamdani, 432,000. Cuomo, 360,000. Brad Lander, 132,000. Adrian Adams, 40,000. These are total votes. And then there's a hypothetical of Eric Adams with 34,000 votes. Where the hell is he beating any of these people? But I digress. So, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to try and pander and now try to act. Because remember, Eric Adams is all about perception management and controlling the narrative. That is what he's all about. He is about controlling the narrative via perception management. Remember what I tell you. So let me read this off here. And this is actually coming from John McCarry, who's been all over this. You should definitely look at his social media. He's on top of everything, and he's right over the target. New York City, July 1st. Mayor Eric Adams is expected to announce a plan to reinstate NYPD officers who were fired for refusing to comply with the city's COVID-19 vaccine mandate imposed during former Mayor Bill de Blasio's administration, sources close to City Hall confirmed. The plan, still in its final stages of review, would mark a major policy reversal and a significant moment in the city's effort to resolve outstanding tensions from pandemic-era mandates. In 2021, then Mayor de Blasio mandated COVID-19 vaccinations for all city employees. More than 1,400 workers, including dozens of NYPD officers, were terminated for noncompliance by February 2022. The policy sparked legal battles and union-led protests, with many officers arguing their constitutional and employment rights were violated. I agree. According to internal sources familiar with the matter, Adams' upcoming plan may include pathways for reinstatement of affected officers, restoration of rank and seniority pending department review, negotiations on back pay with the NYPD's largest union, the PBA. A formal announcement could come as soon, potentially during a press conference with NYPD leadership and union representatives. Union leaders say they expect the move is a long-awaited step toward justice. These officers never should have been fired, said PBA President Patrick Henry. We welcome any serious effort to bring them back with full respect and restitution. Critics of the former mandate argue the firings contributed to ongoing staffing shortages and eroded morale within the department. If confirmed, the plan would represent one of the most consequential post-pandemic personnel reversals in the country and a direct challenge to how vaccine policies were handled during the height of the crisis. That is what we're getting here. But there's a few things we're going to point out, first of all, I right away. A pathway. No, you have to compensate and reinstate every single human being you terminated unconstitutionally, depriving them of their rights. They have pensions. You need to, there were Roth contributions, IRA contributions, ITHP contributions, 50-50 contributions. People lost out on their contributions. Overtime, this stuff is not even factored in because you terminated these people. Also, when it comes to this, people were terminated, right? Some of them left this job. Some of them retired based on the fact that you pushed this illegal mandate. Therefore, what about those individuals that retired early, lost money? What about John McCarry, who had to leave? What is his grand total going to be? This is a wink and a nod to try to get votes. I cannot stress what kind of perception management is going on here. Eric Adams is the king of the perception management. If you don't rehire every single human being and reinstate and compensate them to the max, to the full, which is not what's being discussed here, it's a total failure. And it's just, he's trying to give you the old perception management. Here it is, the low information, look at me, and he bamboozles you yet again. That's why you have him as your mayor. He bamboozles everyone. And you just sit there and say, I love the way he looks, man. He's the swagger. He's the swagger man. He's the swagger man. That's what people do. Or you're out partying to the break of dawn with him, which, by the way, Pat Henry, he was in the PBA when this was all going on. Pat Lynch, of course, was too busy partying with the likes of self-admitted criminal mob associate Jimmy Rodriguez to care of what's going on. And so was Pat Henry. He was with the same crew. So now they want to come out and say, oh, we've wanted this. They failed in their appeals. They failed in the way they even try to go about this. That's the PBA. And now you're going to run in the aid. You know what this is? This is how the union can back Eric Adams. The PBA will be backing Eric Adams. Yeah, this is right there. Pat Lynch on the screen, you could tell, was having his big party with Jimmy Rodriguez. He's associating with a known criminal and mob associate, yet he kept his job. And I think he's still on the books when he should be fired immediately. He was not only a bad head of the PBA, he was associating with a known criminal, and God knows what they were doing. But that's what he was doing when your little mandate was going on, where, I don't know, he could have done a lot more. He could have stepped in. But then you had the DEA when Marlon Bethel gets a letter and says you're terminated, right? No due process, no charges. But now there's a pathway for him to return, just like there was a pathway originally. You know what the pathway was? You sign on the dotted line that you're not gonna get any back pay and there's no grievances, and you get your job back. I think you're gonna see the same kind of lawyer speak in this agreement if it does come down, or whatever Eric has in mind. But the lawsuits will still continue. We can play what John McCarry has to say about this. I saw him put a video up, John, discussing this, and you're not gonna capitulate John McCarry and everyone that was fired on something like this. It won't work. It is a low information narrative designed to create perception management. The pathway for you to get a job, the only way would be to compensate and reinstate everyone in line, one by one, no matter what, because the city wronged these people. It's not the other way around. Oh, we'll give you a pathway. You'd be lucky to work here, kid. Like that's the attitude Eric Adams has with this, just so you understand. So again, this was breaking. And this is some of my take. I'm sure that John will be firing off plenty of videos and takes on this. I mean, here's John. Let's hear John. This is John right now about this.
So Eric Adams, in his path to re-election, is just going to slap every person who worked in New York City who he deemed unvaccinated, even though they had natural antibodies, or they had provable religious beliefs or medical concerns. He's going to slap all those people that he terminated and he forced out and he illegally denied religious and medical exemptions to. He's going to slap them in the face again by saying, oh, we'll give you a path to being reinstated and rehired. But guess what? He's not going to give you no back pay. He's not going to reinstate your time. And he's saying that, oh, you're probably going to lose your seniority and your rank too. Eric Adams, we'll see you in court. As a matter of fact, we're going to see you the rest of this election because we're going to remind everybody about the tyrant that you are and exactly what you did these last 3.5 years. So save your propaganda campaign because it's going to backfire in your face. It's either you compensate and reinstate everybody who you forced out, who you illegally denied medical and religious exemptions to, as well as those, I don't care why you terminated them, but if you terminated them over the vaccine mandate, those people who were never charged administratively, criminally, they were charged with absolutely nothing, those people you illegally terminated, all of them reinstated, compensated with back pay. That's it. Other than that, nobody drops the lawsuit. We see you in court, and we're going to remind everybody who you are this entire election.
Yeah, that's my take. I agree with John. The whole thing is just, again, it's a perception management campaign. Look, Chronicles of the Collapse says Adams had agreed to meet with New York Freedom Rally just after his election, refused once sworn in due to them being unvaccinated. I mean, this guy is, what can I tell you? He's like a political chameleon. If you listen or believe anything this man says, I have a bridge to sell you. It's really, you will vote your own death warrant if you go with this man. I'm not even we'll get into Mamdani and all that. Eric Adams is the worst of the worst, and there's no difference between him and Mamdani. But he has charm and swagger. He's done this his whole life. He sounds crazy. He does crazy things, and this attracts people in. He's still the same kid that grew up in Queens idolizing the Supreme Team, and he surrounds himself with these 70s era wannabe thugs, Phil Banks, Tim Pearson. I mean, the list can go on and on. That's who he is. And his attitude is, it's our time. What he means is, because everyone was the chocolate administration, it's their time to steal and dig in. Not, we're going to do better, not only for the city, but for our community, the African-American community. No, we're going to steal like it was no tomorrow. And their attitude is, well, everyone else before Eric Adams did it too. So instead of being the better of the two, of the lesser of evils, and try to do the right thing, he came in and basically sold New York City and everyone else he can out. And the only reason he's being propped up right now, there is plenty of money being passed around behind the scenes to propagate the lie that Eric Adams is now MAGA, which he's never been. And I could pull up a lot of posts about that. He was never MAGA. And on top of it, he's the MAGA candidate. He's supposed to be the savior. 28% favorability, folks, in New York City. And the anointed messiah for some, President Trump, a man that somehow people want to make into a deity, 36% approval in New York City. So remember that when you say the MAGA candidate can win, because no MAGA candidate could be mayor of New York City, because it is impossible to get over that hump. Okay, right here, I'm putting on the screen, Mayor Adams' job approval ratings dropped to all-time low of 20%. Quinnipiac University, New York City poll finds 56% of voters say Adams should resign from office. Do I need to say anything else? And people, I'll get into this later, but the value judgments going on. Oh, Curtis wears a beret. I didn't know now we do things based on looks, based on if somebody's wearing a hat, because there's plenty to go on on Eric Adams. But I'm not into disparaging people because of the way they look. I'm worried about their policies and what they stand for. Have some goddamn integrity. Have some principles. Because a lot of people are just, this guy's going to take over. Eric Adams, Mamdani, de Blasio is the same policy. That's what you guys are all missing. But you're too busy clout chasing, some of you. Some of you are bikini models that now are political consultants like 2 or 3 years later and running around. And 1 minute you're for Eric Adams when he's a low-life Democrat, total communist. His own socialist policies are out right in front of your face, and he's doing it, defunding the police. You were up in Gracie Mansion, and you also now you want to go to Mar-a-Lago. So now the two conflicting views are head-to-head. But there you are, not with your bikini. Now you're a little more well-dressed. That's what's going on out there. And a lot of people are being bamboozled. It's really biblical times, in my opinion. So I got something here. Yeah, Marlon says it best. New York City is a low-information society. It is. And somehow it's being run by people that wore bikini 2 years ago online and now are telling you it's the end of the world. We have to vote Eric Adams. Oh, by the way, I've been doing fundraisers for the guy and doing all kinds of seedy, shady things behind the scenes. Oh, and I showed up to Mar-a-Lago because I'm rich and I could afford $100,000 a year membership there. You know that's what it costs to be there, right? It's not like you could go there for an event. It's going to cost a lot of money. I've been there, but to be a member, $100,000 a year. And again, do you folk out there, you work every day, can barely buy groceries, can barely get gas, can barely get anything going, groceries and pay for childcare or take your kids to school. Do you want to be lectured by someone who has no problem affording $100,000 to go to Mar-a-Lago, who lives in New York City, by the way, and has a place in Florida? You're being lectured by that. You're low information. So I want to get into something else before I'm going to bring Jack on a little early, but I'm going to bring this up. This is an article that John McCarry wrote, and there's a lot going on. It involves the New York City Police Department. I want to give you the backdrop. There is a culture of perversion underneath Eric Adams. To top it all off, there is a culture of perversion in New York City under Eric Adams. So the New York City Police Department and Eric Adams himself have been hit with a tsunami of sexual harassment / assault lawsuits. Erickson too, by the way. To say he's a pervert, that would be, you're not even mentioning it correctly. He's in 2 separate lawsuits that the city is illegally defending him and illegally defending many other defendants, such as Jeffrey Maddrey, the former chief of department, Eddie Caban as the commissioner, Kaz Daughtry, Mr. Deputy Mayor, John Schell as the chief of department, Tim Pearson. He's all involved in sexual harassment and lawsuits. So new one came out this weekend. And it was 2 articles John wrote. So the first one he wrote said that a new lawsuit involving NYPD's first deputy commissioner. And it starts with an NYPD lieutenant suing the city, a fellow officer and top NYPD boss, claiming she was sexually harassed and then punished before reporting it. This is Lieutenant Trevlon Haley, who's not a lieutenant anymore, by the way. We'll get to that. Says she endured months of creepy anonymous texts and stalking from Detective Shatora Foster, the former girlfriend. According to the suit, when Headley spoke up, First Deputy Commissioner Tanya Kinsella froze her out, blocked promotions, and sent her back to patrol. Haley claims the retaliation cost her career opportunities and caused emotional distress. It goes on to say that Detective Foster, the daughter of NYPD Police Commissioner Secretary Elaine Suber, who is alleged to have had a great deal of influence throughout the NYPD. Detective Foster is the sister of NYPD Assistant Commissioner Aiden Foster. That it is all true. But does that mean hold any weight here? But we're just going to get down to the bottom here. This is Haley's lawsuit. All right. The lawsuit alleges 3 counts of sex, gender, sexual harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment against all defendants. 3 counts of sex, gender, sexual orientation, discrimination, and sexual harassment, hostile work environment against all defendants. 3 counts of retaliation against all defendants. 1 violation of New York State civil service law against the city of New York. And it goes on. I saw she's represented by John Scola. So on its face right here, you're saying, oh my God! I mean, it's all this stuff going on. It looks like this girl Foster is something's going on there. But then there was a second lawsuit, and the second is the counter lawsuit, which is even more disturbing. And the tides have begun to turn here. Okay, so here it says, the second article by John, counter claims filed in lawsuit involving NYPD's first deputy commissioner, lieutenant demoted. So the civil lawsuit says Lieutenant Trevlon Haley, this is all by John McCarty, by the way. Lieutenant Trevlon Haley initially filed suit in New York County Supreme Court, naming Detective Salvatore Foster, the city of New York, and Deputy Commissioner Tiny Kinsella as defendants. The complaint alleged misconduct stemming from a personal relationship between Haley and Foster. All right, so then this week, Foster responded with a verified answer and counterclaims denying Haley's allegation, asserting that she was the victim of non-consensual sexual acts, emotional manipulation, and abuse of supervisory authority. Foster alleges that from late 2023 through mid-2024, Haley used her position as a senior officer to pressure her into a relationship, including alleged coerced sexual encounters both on and off duty. One of the most serious claims involves an alleged assault inside NYPD headquarters in March 2024, which Foster says occurred without her consent. Okay, so this is, you can read this in the second article. It goes on to say she's seeking compensatory and punitive damages. And it's funny because Scola, who we've had on the show, represents Healy, and Eric Sanders represents Foster. So, and that's crazy. And I also posted this because now I'm getting stuff on this on X. So my post that said, it is now rumored an investigative agency higher than the NYPD has started an investigation into the sexual assault alleged and will be calling all respective parties this week in regards to this matter. The NYPD responded by demoting Lieutenant Haley and transferring her. And right here, if you look, the personnel orders on June 28, 2025, Haley was assigned to the Manhattan Court Section and demoted from probationary lieutenant to the rank of sergeant, effective actually that day, June 27th. So that there is that part, but then there is even more, because then I found out, I don't know if we could put this up on the screen. It looks like the lieutenant, she has a problem. She has a history of problems. Apparently, she went to the 52nd precinct, or she got transferred there. She went to Brooklyn North in between. And in whatever it is in Brooklyn North, she had an allegation on her. Okay. And that allegation from Brooklyn North started another investigation. And in that investigation, they found her already guilty in an EEO by a 49 that was written. And UF 49 is a letterhead written from the NYPD. It was actually written by the Deputy Commissioner of Equity Inclusion at that time, Wendy Garcia. It's on my feed. And that letter states in the third paragraph that there's other complainants. See this right here? So you see here, request for transfer. And in that third paragraph, it says the EEOD Investigations Unit has conducted an interview with the complainant and an eyewitness who corroborate the allegation of sexual harassment and provided additional possible complainants. While this case is still pending as per DCAS guidelines, it is recommended that our agency take immediate corrective action to prevent any further violations of EEO. So what's going on here is Headley, wherever she goes, there's a trail of people that she has abused. That 49 and the fact that she was transferred to the Manhattan Court Section proves that. I'm hearing, allegedly, rumor on the street is that Healy is like a female Jeffrey Maddrey, and she abuses females. It's females she's abusing. So remember that. because there was an assault that took place, a sexual assault apparently in the 6th floor at One Police Plaza, as stated in a lawsuit. And then you're seeing right there with your own eyes that there's a history of this, that when she went to Brooklyn North, another cop had complained about the same predatory behavior. Now, she claims that she's getting hundreds of texts from Foster. That could be someone who's a victim who is doing everything they can to keep their abuser away from them. We don't know what the texts are, but that's what I would believe something like this. And this is actually the same thing as Quatisha Epps' case. Same thing that's going on around the same time. In fact, these allegations, if you go back and look at that 49, started in the same period. It was that December week of 2024. That was the same week that Quatisha Epps' story hit, and they tried to suspend her and do the whole Jeffrey Maddrey scandal. This is unnerving. And I see the comments here. IMP Franco. That chick sounds like she went to the Maddrey School of Leadership and Sexual Deviancy. It's like, and Chronicles of Collapse says, females assaulting females. Come on, ladies, get your head straight. Reed said, heard when she was at Community Affairs, she was placed there when Maddrey was the chief. We all know what happened with Maddrey. Yeah, this has a lot to do with a lot of issues. First of all, the leadership in the NYPD has failed people. The leadership is what enabled Headley to go on and on and on and just abuse females. Like, what does it matter? You read that says complainants, so there's more than one, okay? And I understand there's someone else in the 52nd precinct. So this complaint you read about was in Brooklyn North. This is after the One Police Plaza incident. And then there's one in the 52nd precinct, which now she's in Manhattan Central booking right now as a sergeant. And there's investigative agencies that are above the New York City Police Department who clearly botched any investigation here, because how is this person allowed to continue everywhere they go and do this? And again, there's predatory behavior here, and it's documented. And I understand, too, she has department charges right now pending on her for this incident from Brooklyn North. And there might be more coming. And that is why, in my belief, she was even demoted and transferred. Jessica Tisch can't get her own house in order, but she could clearly get puff piece articles left and right written about herself and our famous esteemed mayor, Eric Adams, who clearly has a culture of perversion underneath him, and they have a sexual deviancy problem, and no one wants to talk about it. Eric Adams clearly has problems with females. I don't know if he really likes them. I don't know if he wants them to be abused. He likes that in his administration because he kept Tim Pearson, all these other clowns around. John Schell gets promoted to chief of department. Kaz Daughtry gets deputy mayor. You see them actually get promoted for this disgusting, illegal behavior. And they get represented by the city. And this lawsuit only claims and shows more that this whole Jeffrey Maddrey ring, or like we like to call them, the Crumbs crew, or even better, the Consafrito crew, are running the show to this day. How this woman is not modified or suspended right now, I don't know. And the fact that Jessica Tisch has not stepped in. She says, oh, crime is down, which it's not. Go outside. You'll be lucky not to get stabbed in the subway. Or, as we saw an off-duty incident recently, madness ensuing in the Bronx train station there. She has no grip on anything. She has a grip on the media. That she does. That I will give her. She has a grip on the media. Everything is hunky-dory. Oh, by the way, Jessica, do you know Jimmy Rodriguez? Because I put up the video of you when Eric is up there gloating about the self-admitted criminal mob associate. You're standing behind him as a sanitation commissioner. So I don't know what your relationship is with Jimmy, but you don't care what the police department does at Sobro Gardens. If people get stabbed, it's like, don't talk about it. Don't let anyone know any information, and silence. That's the real Jessica Tisch. we like to call her, I don't know, a soccer mom on the job. I mean, I don't know what to say. She clearly is one of the single worst police commissioners. And this is what happens when someone who doesn't understand the culture gets put in charge. She doesn't understand the culture of the police department, and they're running roughshod underneath her. It's very sad. It's very sad. And I hope the victims get justice, and I hope this gets presented. Yeah, look, Jessica Tisch takes on Albany. Oh, I mean, really, I can't believe this. That she keeps getting these kind of Woon says, "Don't worry, Q teams is starting. I don't have enough cops for minimum manning. Go figure." That's exactly. This Reed says here. This is a good one, Eric, and he's talking to Eric Dim, who's in the chat. Shout out to you, Eric. Eric, I heard she was on a promotion due to her promotion to lieutenant. Sub OEO complaint, and Tisch being PC would be grounds for demotion. Yeah. Reed is on top of it. He meant probation. I meant to say. Listen. We've been on top of this since day one, right? What's going on there? Eric, John, Marlon, myself, Rob, Ron. Now we're gonna have a new show, by the way, tonight, starting at 7, and we've tried to tell you this, and it's like, I don't know, the low information people screaming back the blue. I say verify but trust. You can't be openly, you're standing next to John Shell and Kaz Dodry, yet look at what goes on in and around them. This is chaos that will not only cost the city money, but they're rewarding bad behavior. Mia Lapar says, what do you think John Shell's future will be if this lunatic Zohran wins? I grew up with Shell. I don't know anything about his career as I live in Florida. I do know about his shooting incident a few years ago. John Shell will probably be working for Newsmax. This is it for him. He reached 4 stars, which is an absolute disgrace to the uniform and everything it stands for. This man should have been fired and put in jail a long time ago. There's so much on him that it's ridiculous that he's there. But yet, again, in Eric Adams' NYPD, you get rewarded for bad behavior. You shoot someone, you don't pay your taxes, you browbeat people, you're involved in sexual harassment, you cover things up, you get rewarded. Some guys get rewarded 8 ranks, Kaz Audrey, get rewarded 8 ranks. That's Eric Adams. And that's who some of you people are calling the savior. So now to go back to the mayoral race. I don't know, Jack, if you could put up this a graph from John, the post he made. John nails this with the numbers game. And I've been saying this over and over again. The numbers game. The numbers game. The numbers do not add up for having Eric Adams as the mayor. This is the graph. But I think I sent you a post with it says the numbers, and John breaks down the percentages. Because in the percentage of everything, it's just all of this doesn't click. You understand? And so he had written, this is John. Zohran Mamdani received approximately 49.39% more votes than Eric Adams in their respective first rounds of the Democratic mayoral primary. 432,305 New York City residents voted for Zohran Mamdani in the first round of the 2025 Democratic primary for mayor. That is 5.21%, approximately 8,300,000 New York City residents, and 8.47% of approximately 5.1 million registered New York City voters. 289,403 New York City residents voted for Eric Adams in the first round of the 2021 Democratic primary for mayor. That's a 3.49% of approximately 8.3 million New York City residents and 5.67% of approximately 5.1 million registered New York City voters. If you look at that graph, you see that graph? First of all, Eric Adams had a low voter turnout, much lower than Mamdani. Mamdani's election had a higher turnout. That means you're galvanized right now to vote for mayor. That number there shows you that Eric Adams, and especially in a crowded field, because remember, Eric Adams then in the general election, when he received 700,000 votes, was the only candidate running against Curtis Sliwa, he had about 700,000 votes, 66% of the vote, and Curtis got 28 with 312,000. Again, Eric Adams will now be in a field where he is the last guy on the totem pole between Mamdani, Cuomo, and Sanders. Mamdani, Cuomo, and Sliwa. Eric Adams is less than all three of them, and he's less in his own primary he would have been facing, and he wouldn't even have won the Republican primary. But I keep hearing this whole thing here, so I don't know if you could play this video too, Jack, of the one with John, where it says candidates in the New York City mayoral race who supported the defund the police movement. Zohran Mamdani tweeted about it. Andrew Cuomo said it was a legitimate school of thought. And Eric Adams not only publicly supported it as mayor, he followed through with his promise to lower the overall headcount of the NYPD. He also pledged to lower the NYPD budget by $600 million from $1 billion, but instead blew the budget out of the water due to his sheer incompetence. That's another video that John has up. And you can hear Eric. He's on some show, Ebro in the Morning, with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg. And it's 20 seconds, and that's what he's saying. It's the same. You're voting for the same exact guy. Right here, I went at it with Sid Rosenberg. Well, I reposted with Sid Rosenberg this morning. Sid said, so Zohran Mamdani widened his lead to 12 over Andrew Cuomo after the rank choice numbers. Question, does Cuomo drop out and lend his support to New York City Mayor Eric Adams? It won't be Curtis, laughing out loud. I said Mamdani was at 3% in the polls 4 months ago. Eric Adams didn't even acknowledge Mamdani until after he won. He would have been walloped in both primaries if he ran as a Democrat or Republican. How does Adams beat all three when he ran from either primary he would have lost in? No one has they cannot answer these questions. They just won't answer these questions. How does he win when he can't win his own primary? The votes are not there by the numbers. I don't care who gets behind them. And I keep telling people that MAGA vote, the MAGA support, New York City hates MAGA. Do you understand? The voters will come out in droves for the Trump-backed candidate. Trump got walloped in New York City. That's what runs this. It's not Tennessee. It's not Ohio. It's not Idaho. It's not Texas. This is a majority low information electorate that there's one thing they all agree with. They despise President Trump. So how do you get around that? I've been arguing with people left and right, and they still can't come up with the numbers don't match. I mean, folks, I've been doing this for a while. And then there's another thing that happened. It's in the New York Times. New York City panel approves rent increases, a key issue for Mamdani and Adams. They wanted to freeze it. Eric Adams' panel now says you can't freeze it. It goes up 3%. That's going to become an issue. But Eric Adams is the one that raises it. So he's playing into Mamdani's hands. So it's, I don't get it with you people. Here, on Monday night, the board, this is in the Times, New York Times. On Monday night, the board in a 5-4 vote approved 3% increases for 1-year leases and a 4.5% increase for 2-year leases. The vote against the increases came from the 2 members on the board representing landlords who had wanted higher increases and the 2 members representing tenants who wanted a rent freeze. Folks, this is another issue. And remember, Mamdani still doesn't have the issue. He doesn't have a scandal. I mean, look, don't you find it funny that Eric Adams and company never attacked Mamdani until after he won? Because he's clearly a weaker candidate to hit than, let's say, Cuomo, who had the same support. Cuomo, again, has not dropped down. He can't. He's going to be on the ballot. And actually, I believe In Poly Market, he has risen. He was at 1%. Now he's back up to 10. And remember, I don't believe in the polls because they're crazy. Just the other day, Eric Adams went from nothing to 24%. Now he's dropping from, he's actually was 19 this morning. He's almost at 17 something. And Cuomo, who was at 1%, has risen all the way to 10. Mamdani has not changed. And so that is the issue. I see Lone Silence has got to love Trump at a press conference, just said this quote when asked about Mamdani. He brought up Eric Adams. Mayor Adams, who's a very good person. I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem. Lone Silencer then goes on to say, as a huge Trump supporter, that statement is 100% BS and an insult to those who voted for him. Listen, I'm going to say this, okay, with Trump. I'm telling you people that he's just a man. I vote on the policies. There's a ton of things that I don't like him saying. There's a lot of things that I'm starting to really disagree on policy-wise. I love the best thing is the tariffs. That is, he's capitulating the world. But that was a vision of his from the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. He spoke about this. As far as what he's actually doing goes, some things are really good. The immigration stuff is great. Of course, suing Los Angeles and the mayor there and not the New York City mayor and New York City, who spent $8 billion in taxpayer funds from migrant shelters and then putting all these illegals in working class neighborhoods that are unvetted and we have no idea who they are. He's suing Los Angeles. And that screams of political propaganda. He used to scream about weaponizing the Justice Department. And that's exactly what he's doing. And he's doing it to enemies on the other side of the aisle. And that's not what we voted for. We wanted all of that to end. Go after the real criminals. Eric Adams was one, but don't be using the DOJ to position yourself for some political nonsense. Suing Los Angeles, who does the exact same thing New York City does. The city council and the mayor have they're sanctuary cities. They protect, they say city agencies cannot cooperate with ICE. That is the law. It gets passed. You are the president. You can't intrude on a city. Everyone who's cheering this on, let us hope that someday it's not the other way around. Your Republican county is not being invaded by the Democrat president that says, no, I'm going to do this to you, okay? Because right here, the U.S. Department of Justice sued the city of Los Angeles, Mayor Karen Bass, and city council members Monday, calling LA's sanctuary city law illegal and asking that it be blocked from being enforced. How about New York City? You don't think that's illegal? Oh, that means bad press for your corrupt puppet, Eric Adams, who, I don't know, is rumored there's a lot of Bitcoin going on behind the scenes between the Trump family and Adams Associates. I don't know. Look at Boris Epstein, maybe. A lot of names going on behind the scenes. But Eric Adams he spent $8 billion. LA wasn't even close. Yet, where's the lawsuit for Eric Adams? Where's the lawsuit for New York City Council? That stupid executive order he wrote was never going to pass because corrections and the NYPD forever have been told that they cannot cooperate with ICE. We've had Serena Townsend on. She was the corrections commissioner for internal affairs. She did all kinds of investigations on what? Correction officers that were being accused of aiding ICE. It can't be done. Remember, if you're a cop or a corrections officer in New York City, if you cooperate somehow and they're monitoring everything, they're going to destroy your life. That's what they're going to do. Trump won't save you. You're just going to be used as a political prop in this whole thing. But isn't it odd how they're going after LA and not New York City, which is like 10 times worse than LA ever was? 10 times worse. This is in the article. To characterize what is going on in our city as a city of mayhem is just an outright lie, Mayor Karen Bass said earlier this month. I'm not going to call it an untruth. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to call it for what it is, which is a lie. That's what I don't agree with her. You know, I don't agree with her policies much, but she has a point because they passed these laws. You can't come in and change the law for them. And I love Tom Homan. Yeah, rah, rah, rah. Dude, we just want to see action, man. We don't want to see you on TV. Go out there, keep up what you're doing. You've stopped an illegal invasion at the border. You're rounding up criminals. I hope they're criminals. I hope you're not going to Home Depot and a pizzeria saying, hey, you, I know you're illegal here. You go to the court. People don't like that. They go to the immigration court. They go to those courthouses. They can do that. That's legal. You may not like it. It might be unethical, but it's legal. There's nothing you really can do about it. But if we're going around Home Depots and snatching people up, and that's, you got to be careful because you're going to crush the job market. That's with the illegal immigration. You want these people gone, but we want them gone in a civil manner, and they're not criminals. Like, if they're not a criminal, what are we doing? We want all the criminals out before anything. And then maybe you might be able to negotiate the people that are working or they have a visa, those people. People overstaying their visa to commit crimes, that's another story. That's what we're looking for. But I digress with that. So I think I gave you a little bit of take with everything. So I was going to bring on my producer, Jack, for the last few minutes here. Jack, I'm sure you heard all of that. I don't know if you agree with the way that the heavy-handed approach of the immigration enforcement. I'm for it to enforce illegal immigration, get them out, but not some of the things we're seeing. And I think this is such a disgrace that you say, LA, we have to sue them, but you're leaving the worst city of them all, New York City, because you want to aid Eric Adams. Because if he's getting sued, your little adventure and your dream of seeing Eric Adams get past Curtis Lee and all these guys ends. He should be sued and actually put in jail. Eric Adams right now should be facing a prison sentence. He should be going to court for it. Remember, it's Trump, or actually Emil Bove, who unethically and, in my opinion, illegally took him off that. So that's a whole longer story. But I don't know if you saw that and what your take is with LA. That's how do you say one is worse than the other? That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think we kind of have this universal problem of over deportations, right? Like the original purpose of deporting illegal aliens was to get rid of the people that were here committing crimes, not the law-abiding citizens, those that were harming society. Remember, at one point, there was even a categorization of extreme violent crimes, those who put other in danger, and then lower level crimes like petty larceny or small burglaries of cars or things of that nature. They had kind of divvied it up. But nowadays, it seems like they're going out and taking any.
They committed a crime, Jack. They flipped the hamburger wrong. Some of them.
Exactly. The issue is we need people in this country who are willing to work for either minimum wage or very low wages, doing these jobs that are going to allow corporations to run like a well-oiled machine. Absent of those types of workers, there's going to be a work shortage of people who are willing to stand out in 100-degree heat and do construction in Florida or California, those who are going to be working at fast food chains in other parts of the country. Those people essentially are the backbone of all of these major corporations, and they're really going to start to suffer when they find out and realize that they cannot recruit people to come work for them for $10 an hour to do very hard work. These illegal immigrants, if you want to call them that, are very important to our society, and I just wish that there was a better method of differentiating them, A, and then B, deciding who we're going to be using, because there's no doubt that we've gone way overboard with these deportations.
I'm 100% agreement with you, because again, I want the criminal guy. You want them gone, but you're hurting businesses. You're heavy-handed. You're going above and beyond the approach. And I saw Lampwick said, I think he said it in here, right here. Actually, the Lone Ranger said it. Your work results will speak for itself, not media appearances, something Bondi, Holman, and Patel could learn. I could get into Cash Patel, who's been, I was big on this guy. Man, has he been a disappointment. And he's a 10-year appointment, which is even scarier. But before you go, forgot to mention this. This is on the Zohran Mamdani, right? So Sam Antar, whitecollarfraud.com. I think you should go and check out his latest. So here it says the investigation, grassroots campaign that never existed. Zohran Mamdani built his entire political brand on being people-powered and grassroots. But when you examine the actual data, a very different picture emerges. The setup. This is some stuff, folks. 2.8 million Instagram followers, 1.7 million YouTube views, extensive favorable media coverage, professional campaign website, and prominent donate button, public appearances and interviews, massive online online reach designed to capture small donor donations. The reality, out of 27,674 individual contributions to Mamdani's campaign, exactly 77 had no bundler attribution, and collectively they amounted to $0. Let me repeat, $0 in organic donations. Every single dollar of his 1.7 million in private fundraising cash came through political intermediaries, with 94% funneled through a single professional fundraiser. Ouch! The technical evidence. We examined the source code behind his donation infrastructure. His campaign website's donate button links directly to the New York City Campaign Finance Board's tracking system, a platform that distinguishes between bundle contributions and organic donations from the public. Even his Instagram link tree has a direct donate button, giving 2.8 million followers one-click access to contribute. The tracking data doesn't lie. Despite massive public exposure across every channel, not a single person was inspired to donate organically. The broader deception. Allied PAC money, 1.9 million, actually exceeded even his bundling operation, 1.7 million, meaning outside political groups spent more supporting Mamdani than his supposed grassroots donors. This wasn't grassroots. It was astroturfing with a professional PR campaign. You can't call a campaign people power when 100% of your financial support comes through political intermediaries rather than from people who discover you organically. The revolution didn't start with $10 donations from someone who watched a video, saw an Instagram post, or started with a spreadsheet full of bundlers. And he has the graph, and he's right. Once again, Sam Mantar comes to the rescue. That chart is devastating. People should go to whitecollarfraud.com. You're being listen. I'm just gonna say this with Mamdani. There's some dirt on Mamdani behind the scenes. I can't say what it is. It's pretty bad. And for those that say that Curtis Sliwa doesn't have a chance, or this one doesn't have a chance, or you got to get behind this one, 4 months is a long way, and we haven't even seen the whole dirt sheet yet. Be prepared. You're going to be shocked. I believe Mamdani has peaked at the wrong time, and you will see what I'm talking about. And by the way, Mr. Cuomo remains silent. Just remember that.
Actually, we have a interesting update regarding Mr. Cuomo that's come out over the past, I want to say about 70 minutes or so, right after we came on the air and we're doing a little production meeting. Rich Azzopardi, who is Andrew Cuomo's campaign manager, issued a statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but take a look at this sentence all the way at the bottom of the document here, which states, "We'll be continuing conversations with people from all across the city while determining next steps." And also, I should note that in that statement, he pointed out how voter turnout amongst people under 30 was a lot higher than they expected. The campaign run by Mamdani was fantastic. He gave a lot of credit to him. But at the same time, that sentence, which states they're kind of thinking things through, indicates that Cuomo, who committed to running as an independent, isn't necessarily all in the way we thought he was. Now, I don't think he's going to drop out and endorse one of Eric Adams or Zohran Mamdani, but it also goes to show that his entitledness and cockiness that we saw in the Democratic primary, which ultimately lost him that election, has not gone away. He still thinks that not necessarily he's the man to beat, but that he has a good enough chance to the point where he doesn't have to do anything. And if he thinks he's going to lose, well, he's just going to stick around and get pushed out the same way Ryan Howard, the former Phillies superstar, was cut from the Braves AA team a couple years ago. Some people just have to be forced out of this thing. They're not willing to fade into the background and retire. And sadly, it seems like that's the deal with Andrew Cuomo, which in turn is going to lead to him taking votes away from Eric Adams, Curtis Sliwa, perhaps Jim Walden. So him sticking in this race, without a doubt, detracts from the possibility the third party or challenger to Mamdani could emerge as time progresses.
Yeah, that's a much better analysis by you than saying Curtis Sliwa has no chance, by the way. And somebody here, the recycling guy, said Sliwa is an activist and not a politician, although he knows the town well. He needs to state his knowledge of the system and his intentions clearly and broadly. I think Curtis Lee was going to come on this Finest Unfiltered network here. So I think you will be hearing what it is that he's his policies and what he knows. If you do go on his website, he has a lot of policies. To go back to Jim Walden, unfortunately, Jim is being absolutely boxed out by media. He'll make appearances, but they never bring up his name. And that's what's contributing to the fact that he's way on the bottom. And I don't know what his chances are, but I knew this would happen because when they see someone that's a little smarter than everyone else in the room, we can't have that. And he's being drowned out by the Mamdani and Cuomo. Again, no, I want to reiterate, Andrew Cuomo will not be stepping out of this race because he is on the ballot in November. He's officially going to be on that ballot. When the low information New York City voter walks in, he's going to say Mamdani, Democrat, Cuomo, Independent, Adams, Independent, Curtis Lee, Republican, and Jim Walden, Independent. That's what they're going to see. Cuomo's there. His name doesn't go away. He can't endorse anyone. They're going to see his name. That's what, just like the presidential election, RFK endorsed President Trump, but people voted for him because he was on the ballot. Just so you understand, it doesn't go away. People are very low information. They just believe whatever they read, know the facts of how this works. He did not step out of the race. He is on the ballot. He's on the ballot on November, so you know. But, Jack, you were talking about a different race, one that happened in Miami, very close to me over here and you. What happened there in Miami with the mayor's race in Miami?
Yeah, so I wrote an article yesterday. Miami's postponement of mayoral election should have New Yorkers asking, what if? And well, what I mean by that is Miami, the city of Miami, the city commission, as a matter of fact, voted 3-2 to move the mayoral election back to 2026 so that it coincides with all of the other races in the state. And this was a very monumental decision because Francis Suarez, who's the sitting mayor there in Miami, has been the mayor for 17 years. Obviously, his dad was also the mayor. And Emilio Gonzalez, who was his top challenger, sounds very familiar to the situation we're dealing with, was kind of breathing down his neck a little bit. He was going to give him a run for his money. And then the city commission got together privately and said, because voter turnout has been very low, because we're spending a lot of money on this election, we're going to punt, move it back a year. Everyone's going to stay in their current position, and we're going to reassess things. Now, the one catch to the situation and the biggest irony of this all is we're trying to improve voter turnout. We're trying to save money, but we did not consider the input of our constituents when we made this decision. So we just kind of had this private closed door meeting in a very sketchy manner saying we're going to postpone the election. And my column, I put us in a fantasy universe where this happened in New York City. So if the mayoral election was postponed a year, would things be any different? My answer, guys, was ultimately no, because Mamdani's rise is going to be very hard to stop pending a scandal. Eric Adams, if he sticks in office for one more year, New York City is going to be in way worse shape. So that solution doesn't remedy anything easier. And I don't think 1 year, in my opinion at least, is enough time to get a really competent Republican candidate in place. I know Curtis Sliwa, there's been a little bit of disagreement on the platform about how competent he is. I think that we'll let the results and some of the debates we have subsequently speak to that as well. But yeah, I mean, I think that Republicans could potentially look for a more high-powered, high-octane person. I had floated the possibility of Ina Vernikov at some point down the line. But those three factors, having Eric Adams still in office, having Zohran Mamdani still as the Democratic nominee, which is never a good thing, as we've talked about throughout the show, and then having Curtis Sliwa, a grouchy, older Curtis Sliwa, as the Republican nominee. I don't think like a 1 year postponement would change anything with the New York City mayoral election. As a matter of fact, it would just amplify all the results. I know we're not doing a postponement, but hey, let's have some fun and theorize about what that would look like here.
I think it'd be more fun than watching the New York Mets right now, who are being trash. Yeah, I guess that's good. I guess that's your take. But listen, you'll be back on Thursday. Hopefully the Mets can win a game by then. I don't know. So Inter Milan also crashed out of the Club World Cup yesterday. I mean, it's just been I've been getting double whammied. My everyone is Ferrari can't win a race in Formula One. It's just unbelievable, Jack. Everything's going good, but
yeah. When are the Mets going to win another game? I know they have Milwaukee coming to town, but it's like you wanted the Mets facing a AAA team masquerading as a big league ball club over the weekend so they could get back on track. Didn't go exactly as planned. You get your ass kicked on Friday night. You get crushed on Saturday. There's a closed door team meeting on Saturday afternoon, which was supposed to fix everything. And then guess what? Frankie Montas comes out on Sunday and gives up a 5 spot in the first inning. Did you see that home run from O'Neal Cruz? I think it's still carrying through the air. But anyway, yeah, I mean, things are not looking good for the Mets right now. The pitching has been absolutely awful. The high-powered bats have gone cold, which I'm confident is going to turn around because this always happens over the course of a season. But then the supplemental pieces that we've been talking about haven't been pulling their weight either. So it's very conceivable that this team overachieved early on and is coming back to the mean. I don't think they're going to be this bad the rest of the way, but I also don't think that this group, as they're playing right now, can challenge the Dodgers. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They've been terrible. Jack, by the way, Stephen S. said, who is this guy, Jack Stearns? This is your question. He's my producer. He produces the show. So, and he's in tune himself, and you should check him out. You should follow him on X because he does write these articles. Also want to bring up today's the anniversary of John Rocker's infamous comments. I don't know if Jack, could you pull it up just to show people? John Rocker many years ago had some disparaging things to say about New York City that about 26 years ago in 1999. John Rocker still feels the same way about the city 25 years later. F New York. This guy is he is such a controversial guy, but if you go back and listen to his comments, you be the judge of whether he was telling you the truth or not. I'm being that honest. So tonight, I don't know if you pull up the graph at 7 p.m. We're going to have a new show. I want you to check that out. I just want you to put the graph up. I don't want to mess anything up. I think they're having a guest on tonight. And this is their introductory episode, so I want everyone to check it out. Again, we're expanding here, like I've been telling people. So I'm going to try to pull this up myself. And, of course, tomorrow we're going to have John and Eric be on, and I think they're going to have a special guest in the morning. But here it is, the 10 Fork Tavern with Tom Joyce and Peter. Let me see his name. Peter Fiselli. Peter Fiselli, I know Tom Joyce. They've been on the Finest Unfiltered, but that's tonight at 7 p.m. here on the Finest Unfiltered, the debut of the 10 Fork Tavern. Their guest going to be Carlos Canino from a special agent in charge of Los Angeles from the Field Division ATF. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of chatter about the differences about what goes on there in LA and ATF and the NYPD, but this is going to be a must-watch, so please tune in for that. In the morning, 8:05 live, John and Eric, Finest Unfiltered. Be prepared. You might see a special guest, someone I just mentioned. And also at 5:05 tomorrow, 17:05, will be the Executive Perspective with Rob and Ron. They're going to be, I'm sure to be touched. I'm going to be honest with you guys. This whole mayor's race is touching all of us differently, and everyone has their own opinion about things, but everyone's riled up and pretty much agree that Mamdani and Eric Adams and Cuomo, they're not the answer. So I'm just to let you know. And I'm going to reiterate the dirt that I'm talking about. Mr. Mamdani, you're all looking in the wrong area. People call him a communist. He probably is. His policies are communistic, socialist. So are Eric Adams' policies. But that's not where you need to look. And calling him an anti-Semite and a jihadi terrorist is not going to work. You're going to drive people behind them. But one's actions or what you judge someone on. Mr. Mamdani was a rapper. And I suggest many of you begin to look into the career of Mr. Mamdani, the rapper, and what went on during this time frame. Because as we know, when you like to party all the time, a lot happens. As we learned with Mr. Eric Adams, self-impressed people always step on a grenade. And I'll leave it at that. So tune in also Thursday, right back here, Sal Greco Show. I'm going to have someone on that you won't believe. See, here's a video. I just remember, watch this guy in his past, the rapper stuff that he did. He was going out, he was partying. That always tends to be a recipe for disaster, okay? Especially for a political guy, because it's always something. I mean, look, did we not see what happened with Eric Adams and all these people hanging out at Con Sofrito? So maybe Mamdani was there. We wonder if he knows, if hashtag he knows Jimmy. Well, no, we'll find out. But there's something there. Look in that direction. That's the best I could tell you. Thursday, I want you to tune in, because my guest is going to be someone who was victimized by none other than the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James. And she has quite the story. And I kind of mentioned it in the last episode, but I suggest you watch. It's going to be a must watch. It's someone who's got a lot to say about what happened to her. She was a victim, and she was drowned out, just like what we see every day here in the New York City Police Department, and with Letitia James, especially with the way they handle their business. So please tune into that one. I will be giving more further details tomorrow about who this guest is, so check that out. But again, tonight, 7 p.m., you can watch Find Us Unfiltered. Tom Joyce, Peter Fuselli will be on. Tomorrow morning, it's a must watch, John and Eric. You'll see who they have on, okay? It's going to be a must watch. And Executive Perspective at 5:05. I wonder if they're going to talk about this little lawsuit with the lieutenant and the detective, and how now the sergeant, Haley, is running around. And again, the culture of perversion just runs the NYPD, apparently. It's sick. And it's all in Eric Adams, the quote-unquote MAGA savior of New York City. Truly sick to even say that. But enough with that. By the way, I will be 4th of July is coming Friday. On the 5th, I will return to Lone Depot Park. Maybe it's American Heritage Day. And maybe I will become a Marlins fan if the Mets don't win a game till then. But I'm just kidding. But, well, check out the Marlins once again. I know they're not that good, but it's better than watching the Mets. At least expect the Marlins to lose. The Mets, they're worth all this money. They can't win a game. It's really bad. I don't know what to say about that. But, yeah. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being in the chat. I appreciate all the comments. And once again, if you can, like, share, and subscribe. Share this out to all your friends, especially the low information people that are in your life. They need to learn real quick, because your next vote may affect the rest of your lives. Just remember that. So I'm here. I'm signing off from South Florida, which is, once again, a sunny place for shady people.
So this is a biblical moment. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?